Good morning, everybody. We back with another shrimp for breakfast. Hopefully everybody is enjoying these little AMAs. If you have any questions, put them in the comments on the YouTube and I will comb through and answer them. We're still wrapping up the questions from my girl Cecily Ashford out in England. One of my ancestral homes, Irish, right, and English. And I've never been to either place. I've been to Denmark, teaching out in the animation workshop. Shout out the animation workshop! If anybody doesn't know about the animation workshop, it is the single coolest college I've ever been to, heard about. It's absolutely incredible. And everybody there is amazing. I've taught out there for two-week sessions, and I've got to get back. It's so much fun. It's a vibe. It's a vibe for real. So we got some more questions today. Oh, beforehand, I've been shilling this at the end, but I just want to remind everybody to go over to GhostShrimpGlobal.com and pre-order the Lost Forest Ghost Shrimp Adult Coloring Book. People my whole career have been like, do a coloring book. And then Penguin Random House, the largest book publisher in the world, reached out to me to do just that. And you can pre-order this bad boy for only $17. We're trying to put it on the bestseller list, and we're trying to do more of these. I'm hoping to do another one this year. It was such a fun project. They let me do whatever I want. They gave me complete creative control, complete ownership of the intellectual property, which is something you don't get with the studios, with the animation studios. The advance they gave me was about double what you'd get for doing a pilot with the studios, and I get royalties on it, right? So a much better business deal for an artist, right? I mean, apples to oranges a little bit, but just to clue people in behind the scenes, behind the curtain, right? The business end of it, you got to get savvy with the business end if you are gonna be a professional visual artist, right? You are a business person, especially if you're an independent artist. You're an entrepreneur, y'all. You got to get in there. Luckily, I had a little bit of, I've always been a hustler. I've always had a head for business. I don't excel at it because I like hate paperwork and all this other stuff. So like, but just that going out and hustling and being hungry and coming up with new ideas and fun ways to promote and all that stuff, I've always had a knack for that. But this book was really fun to do. They're single-sided pages so that like it doesn't bleed through to the next image. So I did 55 new pieces for this, all as we're talking about personal mythology. And yesterday, as we were talking about personal mythology in yesterday's AMA, this is like all Ghost Shrimp personal mythology. We got the Beehive Boy in there. We got all kinds of kids running around in the forest. We got aliens. We got insects. We got freaking MF Doom aliens. We got everything. I wanted it to really tie the Ghost Shrimp universe together. So like every project that I've ever worked on kind of makes a little appearance in there. So it's just full of Ghost Shrimp Easter eggs. So if you love the Ghost Shrimp universe, you're going to absolutely love this book. And it's really meaningful to me because it's dedicated to my dad. You know, I got this book deal as my dad was, you know, kind of in his battle with cancer, and his cancer was terminal, and it ended up, you know, claiming his body. After he passed, I had to just hit the brakes on work for a while and just chill. So this was one of the projects that was kind of just marinating in the background. And then I came back, and this was the project that I really, you know, two big projects. This was one of them, came back to and just kind of put all my energy into that and really brought me back to life. You know, I didn't know how to deal with the death of my dad, and that's something that we could talk about in these videos. And I never had a loss that significant in my life before. And my grandfather had died previously, so it's kind of like I see the like lineage ahead of me, kind of, or behind me, however you want to think about it, kind of thin out, and I'm like kind of the next in line. I'm the I'm the guy, which is just weird to think about that I'm like the adult now. I don't really see myself as much of an adult, but here I am, 43 years old, living the dream, running a family, co-running a family with my beautiful, wonderful wife. And of course, we're gearing up to go to the Grammys on February 4th. If y'all don't know, your boy got nominated for Best Packaging for this Gravity Falls album cover. Again, very meaningful. I was working on this when my dad got diagnosed as terminal. So, a lot of these projects are kind of wrapped up in this last era that I'm coming out of. But the cover's really fun. We got a wrap around. This is the most art I've ever done for any album, and we'll do a full in-depth breakdown of this. Once we wrap up these questions from Cecily. The I Am 8-Bit had the absolutely genius idea of having the records be the decoder, and there's secret messages written on all of these secret little Easter eggs from the show written on all of these images. And this is just such a cool item. If you don't have it, I think there's still some available. I think they're like maybe $40 on iam8bit.com. Very historic, right? Very historic. I've done album covers my entire career, and this is the first one to ever get nominated for a Grammy, which is fucking amazing. And I started out doing album covers literally in high school for my friends, and still doing them to this day, as we were talking about. And can't wait. Me and Athena are gonna go and have a great time. You guys are gonna love the outfits. If you saw me post the outfits on the Instagram, those outfits should be delivered sometime this week, I'm hoping. And we'll do a little fit check. I'll do a little flex for y'all, and I'm gonna see if we can make some of those available to y'all. And Raw is even interested in maybe making some of those too. So, all right. Let's jump into the final question here from Cecily Ashford. Do you have any advice on things like juggling social life, rest, and mental health with work? Wow. Again, just capping it off with an absolute banger of a question. I can tell by the way Cecily is thinking that she's going to really figure things out, because the most important thing is to figure out the questions. If you can figure out the questions, the answers are right around the corner. A lot of people never even kind of figure out the right questions to ask. Oh, also, the spots for round 14 of the Ghostshrimp Classic Workshop are filling up. There's only a few left. So go over to ghostshrimpglobal.com and snag a spot. $1,300, first come, first serve. And if you dig these AMAs, if you dig my work, you're going to absolutely love the workshop. Weekly vid chats with me. A group of, a small group, it's like 10 to 12 people all over the world that have been attracted to the Ghostshrimp Workshop, that are hyped up to make progress, level up their technical ability, level up their creative ability. And, it's high morale all the way, and we have a lot of fun. It's all about just remembering that number one is having fun at the desk, right? Like, if there's one takeaway from anything that I ever say, it's if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. Having fun at the desk is how the best work is made, right? So, I'm a very simple-minded person, and I have a good way of kind of simplifying things for people and making it very attainable, as far as a career as an artist is attainable, because it is a rare thing, right? As we know, I like to liken it to athletics, where, being a professional athlete and having a career as a professional athlete is very hard to do. having a career as a professional artist is the same. You know, it's very hard to do. It's rare to be able to develop yourself as an artist to get to that point, and it's rare to be able to sustain yourself at that point, especially having the career you want, right? Having a career as a visual artist 101 is kind of like, you know, the base level is, you know, kind of the industrial artist where you get a job and you're told what to do, like a non-creative art job. And then that, you know, ultimate dream life as a visual artist is having a career where you get to choose the projects, where you get to lead the direction, where you are steering, you know, the ship of your destiny, to where you want to go, right? Into new meaningful challenges all the time. So this question about social life, rest, and mental health, very poignant today. I actually had a crap night's sleep last night. We had an insane weekend over Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. The kids had three friends of theirs, three best buds, sleep over. They had early release Friday. They got out at noon. Their friends came over. You know, we got two kids. They have three. So this pack of five hooligans coming in. Sleepover Friday night. Then Juniper had a birthday party on Saturday. So they stayed through for the party on Saturday till late Saturday afternoon. So that was like an absolute run. And then Sunday, Athena had a fitting party for her Grammy dresses. She had a bunch of her lady friends over. They brought kids over. Those same kids were back again. The best buds were back. And we had a banger of a weekend, but you know, with kids come germs, and Wolfie started not to feel good on Sunday. And then Athena wasn't feeling good yesterday. I've kind of been fighting something off, and last night I just woke up in the middle of the night. I call it the witching hour, 3 a.m., and I just couldn't get back to sleep. And So my brain's a little like blurp today. You know, sleep is. I'm very. I do not function well on little sleep. But we're here anyway. We're gonna do it. We're gonna just get in the groove and roll with it. But sleep is like the number one for me. There's two, as far as creativity goes, as far as productivity goes. I'll say, especially as far as creativity goes, because I can be productive on non-creative tasks if I'm tired. You know, I'll be like less productive, but I can still kind of do it. If I am tired or dehydrated, my creativity is just cut in half and cut in half again, you know, depending on the extent of it. So, you know, my entire career and even like my college time, you know, of course I was like, I love to party. So like I'm a bit of a party animal. Like I love to hang out. I love to socialize. I love to party. Um and but I like to keep it in its place, right? And when it's time to work, I like to be well rested and I like to be well hydrated, right? And the hydration thing I think has been kind of intuitive over time, and the last handful of years I've realized on the conscious level just how important it is, and how I've really stepped up the hydration game. I think that's like a I think that's like a cultural thing right now. Like a lot of people are clued into that. You see a lot of those giant water bottles around, so you might be like, oh god, but it is really fundamental. I mean, you're an electrical system. That's like the lubrication. That's the fluid that keeps everything moving, right? That's your engine. It's the fuel for your. It's one of the fuels for your engine. It's also just the substrate from which your electrical system operates, right? That's how you conduct it all through. Like, you know, that's some shrimp science right there. And you just have a low like frequency if you're dehydrated. Um, but my protocols for like creativity and happiness, because happiness is real big for me. You know, when we were 12 years old, when I was when I was 12 years old, you know, we moved from rural Western Massachusetts, where I had my childhood dream life, to suburban Seacoast, New Hampshire. Only like a few hours away, but it was a world away as a 12-year-old, and it kind of like ripped me up. It was kind of like the biggest emotional trauma, if you want to say, that I've ever had in my life. just kind of like severing the childhood from the teenagehood and leaving my old friends behind and jumping in at that age to try to like make a new friend group is like kind of a brutal process if anybody's gone through that. And I'm very social. I'm very good at making friends. I'm still very good at making friends. It comes easily to me. I find it easy to relate to people because I just find like the thing that we have in common, and then just like jam about that. And I have this trick where I pretend we're already best friends when we've met. If anybody's just met me, like I have I'm really good at pretending. Go figure. Like this creative, imaginative illustrator, but my whole life I play mind games with myself, right? So I think some people play mind games and psych themselves out, like with stress and anxiety, but I do the opposite. I play mind games like to try to engage myself and give myself an advantage and have fun. So if I'm meeting new people and I want to get to know them, I'll just pretend that we're like best friends and we already really know each other. So I get in a really comfortable zone and then just kind of chat and ask them a lot of questions and tell them a lot about myself, right? And no matter who they are, no matter where they come from, there's always a lot of common ground there. I think, every human on this planet, right? We're in a very polarizing time right now, but I think every human on this planet has more in common truly than they have in conflict with each other. And I feel like I could sit down with anybody and strike that common ground and build camaraderie out of that and start a good dialogue and walk away kind of knowing each other better and feeling good about it and being like, oh, we should connect. So let's see, let's focus the brain on this question. Mental health, rest, work. So my protocols have always been going to bed at 10 o'clock at night on like a work night, right? Getting up at 6 a.m., getting to work as fast as possible, usually by 7 a.m. And I'm talking like I have two different eras in my life. It's pre-kids and after kids, and my schedules have changed since I had kids. Like on purpose, I've had to change it to be a better dad and stuff, better husband. But my overall, the average is like, the sleep schedule is the same. And then before I used to get to work by 7. Now it's more like, it's like a little after 7 going on 8, depending on how long the kids take to get out the door. But getting to work, the morning is my most creative time. So I really try to protect the morning. I try to avoid social media if possible. Any other distractions, just, I get my little breakfast going and I get to the desk and jump in there and just get the juices flowing. Like that's when I'm most creative, right? And if I can get a nice run going in the morning, that's going to be, I can get almost a day's worth of work done. Like if I jam on it real good in that 4 to 5 hours, I can get so much done, like, and feel really good about it. And lunch comes and I like my morale and my momentum is like really high. I'm big about momentum, getting it going fast and keeping it rolling and getting like a bunch done right off the bat. Like I'm not a procrastinator. Like I love to just dive into a project and really get it going. So I like to do that on the daily basis. Like, a lot of people think of success. I want to be at this place in my career. I want to be here. I want to be there. But success is really a daily practice. It's not like a destination. It's not like you get to a certain point and you're like, haha, I'm there. I've been doing this for 20 years. Obviously I've worked on a ton of legendary projects and I'm at the point where I can kind of reach out to pretty much anybody and like they know something that I worked on and they're hyped to connect and we could talk about what we might be able to do together, right? Or they reach out to me and because they already know me, right? So I get that work done in the morning. Lunch comes around. Eat a light, healthy lunch. That's not gonna like make me really like lethargic in the afternoon, right? I'm not eating a plate of spaghetti. I'm not eating fucking, something really heavy. Like a soup and a salad would be great. But this is just my vibe. I'm just letting you know. You do whatever you want. You find your own protocols, right? You got to find your own protocols for the downloads, your own protocols to put yourself in the flow state. But the idea of being an artist isn't just to, be in the flow state when you're working. It's as much as possible to live in the flow state so you don't have to get there, right? So you're in there, right? You're not my goal is to not remove myself from the flow state. My goal is to stay in it as much as possible. So these are the general protocols for that. And then after lunch, I take a 20-minute rest, right? I call it a nap. I don't fall asleep per se. I lay down and I just relax. And I do it differently than when I sleep. I don't get under the covers, and I usually have like an extra pillow. When I sleep, I'm like under the covers with one little pillow. When I nap, I like to be on top of the covers with like two pillows, so it's just like my body knows it's like a different mode. And I'm pretty sure I did this since college. I definitely did it since after school, since I started my career. And the idea is just to have the afternoon be a fresh start, just like the morning, right? When you rest, it's almost like a little form of meditation. I also like to meditate throughout the day, like little 10-minute sessions. Like if I feel my attention wandering, I'll just sit down and hit a 10-minute timer and just like, zen out, just meditate out. Kind of when I'm meditating, I kind of just throw my mind out into the universe. I try to kind of project my mind outwards and just kind of connect with the cosmos. That's one of the meditations I like to do. Sometimes I have a lot of thoughts coming up, so I'll just kind of see them as they come up and just recognize them and just like let them go. It's interesting what comes up, and you see, okay, oh, I'm thinking about this. Okay, put that away. I'm thinking about this. Okay, and eventually you can kind of clear it out and just relax. But in the little nap sesh, I basically get right to the point of what I call the in between, where like you start to recognize, you'd be like, whoa, that's a weird idea. It's like almost in the dream state. You're starting to touch the dream state. You're starting to get into like that dream world a little bit, and then you kind of pop right back. And then you're just refreshed. It's like you just took a nice shower, or did some breathing exercises or whatever. It's just a nice reset. So I love to do that. And then my afternoon is, more creative time. If I have what I think of as like office work, like, getting on social media, answering emails, any stuff I have to do, like contacting clients, corresponding about a job, I'll do that in the afternoon. And then also for more technical work, like inking, coloring, stuff that requires less creative heavy lifting. Like if there's creative work to do, I definitely focus that in the morning, just to know that that's my most powerful zone. I can still do it at other times, and obviously inspiration can strike you at any moment, but that time is where it's going to be the strongest for me. So the afternoon, kind of more administrative stuff, technical work, any kind of that office stuff. Um, and then dinner time. Maybe eat a bigger dinner, and then pre-kids, that can be another work session after dinner. Post kids, kind of chilling with the fam. I also chill with the fam in the afternoon, depending on what my workload is and what they're doing that day. But yeah, pre kids, it would be like 7 a.m. till definitely at least 8 o'clock, like on a work day for work, with these little breaks in between. Also, like I'll often work in a bike ride, or a walk in the woods, a little half hour, cardio jam, just let my mind go. These little resets are important, right? Whether it's the meditation, the rest nap, the walk in the woods. The walk in the woods is good. The bike ride is good because it's getting out and it's like a change of scenery. Getting out of the house, getting fresh air, getting sunlight is really good. Sometimes I'll do that right off the bat in the morning too, depending on the schedule. Like sometimes I'll just bust out when the kids jump out at like 7:10. I'll go out and just do a little loop around in the woods and just get the blood pumping and just let my mind go. And as I'm working, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm listening to music, I'm listening to audiobooks. I've always been that way. I used to check out audio cassettes from the library. I used to check out audio CDs from the library. Now, of course, we got Audible and Spotify and all this stuff. So technology has made it much easier for us to access that, which is amazing. Like, take advantage of technology to help you. I'm sure most of y'all do. But yeah, mental health is really important. If you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling anxious, that's a sign that things are out of balance. That's a sign that things are not on track. That's a warning sign, right? It's not normal. Like, I know that there's kind of people accept a lot of stress and anxiety. I'm actually shocked. I come from a family of people that are stressed and anxious, and I recognized early on that that was toxic, and that destroys your self-confidence. It destroys your vision. It destroys your ability to kind of like go like, this is what I really want to do, and let me do it, because you're constantly undercutting yourself. You're doubting yourself. You're second guessing yourself. Your brain is working overtime with a lot of chatter that's negative self-talk, and that will absolutely just eat your soul. If that's happening to you, you really need to develop different protocols. That means that it's really a warning bell. It's a red light that things are not right. Um, it is, if you're feeling depressed, of course, like, depression is the far end of that spectrum, and there's extreme depression and all that. And I just came out of a bout of depression with my dad. Like, I hadn't been depressed since I was in high school, and like post move, and been, just jammed into the school system that was just beating me down all the time. And I was just an absolute problem child in that whole time of my life, from middle school till I got to college. I mean, I still made the best of it, and I'm going to go out. I'm not a timid soul. Like, I'm gonna go right into it. Like, my response was just to fuck with my teachers all the time, and like, fucking fuck you. And it was horrible, right? It was just, it was if you were gonna tell me what to do, I was gonna push back and just get kicked out, right? That was my version of taking control back. But if you are depressed, if you are stressed, if you are anxious, those are red lights that something is very wrong. And you don't treat it with medication. Like, okay, this is just my advice. When my parents just put a pill in my mouth to deal with that, that was just like that was just it wasn't solving the problem. It was like tricking me into thinking that I could keep going through, or like, my brain isn't coming up with the right words right now because I'm tired. But it's a band-aid on a cut artery. It's not going to stop the problem. It's going to, like, maybe put the symptoms at bay, right? But dulling the symptoms doesn't mean that the problem is gone, right? My depression was coming from the fact that I wasn't allowed to be creative, that I wasn't allowed to express myself, that I wasn't allowed to put my energy into things that I wanted to do, right? And that was a bad mistake. And my parents didn't know what to do. They did the best that they could, but it was that, it could have destroyed me. If I was a more fragile soul, I never got suicidal, but, like, I had friends that committed suicide, and I saw what that could do. And I see people in my life now that are, that are dealing with depression and stress and anxiety, and it's not pretty. Like, you don't want to be one of those people. When you're there, it's very easy to forget how bad it is, because it just starts to feel normal. And it also, the most insidious thing about depression is it doesn't want to let you go. It makes you think that you can't get away from it, but you can, right? So, like, develop your own protocols, right? There is a way out, and you should be able to get up and feel good most of the time. 60, 70, 75, 80. Like, I feel good 80% of the time, right? And I won't settle for less. And friendship is definitely a big part of that too. Hanging out with friends, one night a week, 2 nights a week, get the work done first. But you know, hanging out with your friends is having good friends that you can decompress with, that you can talk with, right? My friendships are friendships where we have fun, we party, but we also talk about our feelings. We're also like, man, this was fucking me up, or, you know, this and this and that. And having a wide variety of friendships with you know, girls and boys and everything in between, right? Animals and just absolutely like not being afraid to share what you're going through with people, because keeping it inside is what fucks you up the most, right? And again, depression wants you to like be embarrassed about it, but you shouldn't do that, because that will literally kill you. Like, whether you'll be the walking dead or the buried in the ground dead, like, you know, of course it's better to be walking the planet, but if you're tortured in your daily life, that's horrible. It shouldn't be like that, you know. And we're going to wrap up this video now, but we could talk more about this. I'm assuming that a lot of people would like to talk more about mental health shit. I'm trying to keep these to about a half an hour, just to like get my day hyped and then jump right in, you know. But yeah, mental health is the most important. Like, you're not going to be able to, I know there's like this fantasy that like artists are like these damaged people and depressed and fucked up, and that's where the greatest art comes from. Like, you know, when I'm depressed and stressed, I take time to work my way back. I don't really create from that place. Like, I can, and like I use that for sure. Like, you know, in the personal mythology thing, we didn't talk about it as much, but the personal mythology is about the dark side too. Like, the you know, if you look at my work, it's always about the paradox between the dark and the light, right? My work is kind of fucked up. Like, I have a dark sense of humor. People will often say my work is very dark and ugly and all this stuff. Like, it's really funny to see how people perceive your work. And my work is dark because I'm very aware of the dark and the light, and that we have within us the ability to do extreme evil or extreme good, and to feel extreme depression or extreme happiness, right? And you get to control a lot of that, right? Your DNA is one thing. Your DNA puts you on a path, and certainly that is a big part of your story. It's half of it, but DNA is activated, right? There's all these markers in your DNA that get turned on and off depending on your behaviors, your routines, your relationships, all these things. So you have a tremendous control over it. Your destiny is half your DNA, and then half of what you decide to do with it, what you decide to activate. So be proactive, right? My success has come from being proactive. I've had a lot of challenges in my life. You know, I was extremely depressed as a teenager, and I was pushed into medication and forced into a system that just criticized me nonstop, and it really broke me down, and I had to resist. I had to constantly build a shield against it, right? And then, you know, I broke every bone in both my feet, broken both hands, you know, broken my wrist, my ankle. I've had a lot of setbacks. You know, I've had setbacks in my creative career, getting fired from Cartoon Network right after I was hired, and then getting rehired. And, you know, I've had a lot of challenges in my life, but those challenges and standing up to those challenges and how you respond to those challenges really defines your character, really defines your destiny. Don't